democracy in the last 60, 70 years, that idea of India as plurality, openness, respect for difference and dissent, this is the idea of India. And you can cite any number of examples. India was not a country which was intolerant of dissent or difference. There were open debates. You had the institution of Shastrat, where if a new idea was to be proposed, it has to be publicly debated. And we have any number of great debates you can cite where this Shastra took place. Now all of a sudden, you are being told, no, this is not on. So any kind of a dissent is under some kind of a threat. Writers are prone to exaggeration. After all, Atiranjana is an alanka. Exaggeration is really a figure of speech. That is to attract attention. You dramatize in order to attract attention. So when we decided to return this award, the attack was on two grounds. One, that after all the award is given by the Sahitya Academy. The Sahitya Academy has nothing to do with the government. It's an autonomous national organization, although funded by the government. But then, the same Sahitya Academy did not do anything to condemn the murder of one of its own award winners. It in fact refused to hold even a condolence meeting in Delhi when approached. So this kind of an institution, which is a national forum of writers, fails to represent writers and decides to represent the state. So that's why, and what can we do? I mean, writers cannot possibly do anything else except what they have received by way of recognition could be returned. That we will not accept these recognitions if the real essence of our traditions, our culture, our civilizational enterprise are under assault or are being undermined. By doing that, we have succeeded, perhaps unwittingly. I did not imagine that this would happen in such a big way. Your acts of courage, or whatever you call them, are yours. You do your bit. Whether others would heed, whether others would care for that, is an entirely different matter. But it so happened that writers from Malayalam, from Marathi, from Punjabi, from Hindi, from Urdu, from English, etc., have joined in. So it is not something that we, and now the second point that is raised is, we are against the politics which is ruling the roost at the moment. In the first place, we are politically plural again. The writers who have returned these awards belong to different political formations. They do not. I have had my quarrels for a long number of years with leftists, and so have many others. The point that is being made on behalf of the government is this, that we are doing it because we don't like the politics, as if we don't have the right to like the politics. Yes, we don't like this politics. We don't like the politics of murder and violence. We don't like the policy in which minorities are being forced into ghettos. In this village itself, a situation has arisen where perhaps 50, 60 Muslim families will have to leave, or they're planning to leave because they don't feel safe. And they think that they should be in a place where they have at least the support of numbers. Now this is unacceptable. This cannot be that people who belong to different minorities start, because that would be the real division of India. We stood together. You will know better than, and I need not reiterate it, but I can only remind you of that Winston Churchill, as the Prime Minister, was of the serious view that India would not hold together. That it is just not possible for India to hold together. Ladies and gentlemen, we have held together. And we have held together with much aplomb. And the reason why we held together was that we had provided a democratic setup in which this plurality and difference were respected. Even as a democracy, we will collapse. And we are the only surviving democracy in some sense, in that part of the world. If the largest democracy of the world in terms of absolute numbers fails, it will fail because it deviated from its own centennials long tradition of plurality, openness, and respect for difference. You know, I remember when I was a young child, my tailor used to be a Muslim gentleman. He would come, and we are a Brahmin family, and the Vajpeyis are a very highbrow, highly arrogant Brahmins. They are very arrogant. Some of them are talented. I am not one of them, but there are others who are. Now, they think no end of themselves. They are very highbrow. So, my mother would give him tea, but the cup and the saucer he was given was kept separate. So I, as a young 9-year-old boy, and I used to address him as Rahman uncle. So when I found that these cups and saucers are kept separately, and this is, mind you, something like 47, 48, soon after partition, and many of our own neighbors had gone to Pakistan after the partition. So one day I called him just Rahman in front of my mother. And she didn't say anything. As soon as Rahman went out, she just bounced upon me. That you uncivilized brute, how dare you say just Rahman? I said, but we keep their cups and saucers separately, so how is he my uncle? She said, we are different, so the cups and saucers are kept. But that does not mean you should lack in courtesies, and you have to go and apologize. I went to apologize. It was a very hard, hot day, things of that kind happened. In any way, the short point that I'm trying to make is that it is important that at this juncture, India's own creative, reflective communities come together to raise their voice and to make the people realize the dangers that lie ahead if this kind of a politics, these kinds of religions, etc. are allowed to keep on trampling on basic practices and basic values of democracy, and in fact, not only of democracy, but also of Indian tradition. Because if you are not able to put together, if all people who belong to India do not feel that this is their country, this is their civilization, to which they have contributed, to which, whose shaping they have a role to play, then you are doomed. Our job is not so much to tell the state what to do, because ultimately people are larger and more enduring and more trustworthy than any state. Our job is not to make a petition to the state that please do this or please do that. Our job is to only alarm the people that such dangers lie ahead and you should be aware. Finally, the position that we have taken, it has been said that why is it these kinds of things have happened in other political regimes, Yes, they have happened.